Genesis chapter 11 with the Tower of Babel. Now, if you've never heard of the Tower of Babel, let's talk about it first real quick before we really get into reading the scripture here. We can talk about a structure called a ziggurat. That was the intended structure that they were trying to build with the Tower of Babel. It says here that ziggurats are monumental temple towers found throughout the area of ancient Mesopotamia. They were commonly built of sun-dried mud and straw bricks held in position with bitumen as mortar. Stairways ascended to the top of these structures where a small temple or shrine sat on the summit. This illustration below depicts the ziggurat of Nana at Ur, which was constructed during the reign of Ur-Nammu between 2113 and 2095 BC. Its area covered 150 by 200 feet, and its height was 80 feet. It is commonly believed that this type of structure was being built in the Tower of Babel episode. This text indicates that the builders of Babel had discovered the process of making mud bricks, and they employed bitumen for mortar, as cited in verse 3. Based on that invention, the builders decided to build a tower with its top to the heavens. Now, let's get started with the scripture. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower, and a tower with its top in the heavens. And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do now. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, so they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth, and left off building the city. I've heard it said that this was done because of their pride, the pride of the people. Continuing on, therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them all over the face of the earth. Shem's descendants. These are the descendants of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he fathered Arpachshad 500 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Arpachshad had lived 35 years, he fathered Shelah. And Arpachshad lived after he fathered Shelah 403 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he fathered Eber. And Shelah had lived after he fathered Eber 403 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he fathered Peleg. And Eber lived after he fathered Peleg 430 years, and he had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he fathered Reu. And Peleg lived after he fathered Reu 209 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Reu lived 32 years, he fathered Serug. And Reu lived after he fathered Serug 207 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he fathered Nahor. And Serug lived after he fathered Nahor 200 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he fathered Terah. And Nahor lived after he fathered Terah 119 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Terah had lived 70 years, he fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. We hear the name Abram here. This will come to be important here soon. We'll get to that though. First, let's script now called Eblaite. Eblaite is the oldest West Semitic language known. Most of the texts of the archive are economic or administrative, their content highlighting that Ebla was a major international trade center at that time. Biblical scholars suspected these texts to provide much information and detail regarding the time just prior to the patriarchs in the northern ancient Near East. These hopes have not panned out. The texts at best provide a general background and setting to the time. For example, there is little material regarding the religious views of the people of Ebla. Little has been gleaned about the cultic organization and operation. The few myths found in the archive are nothing new, but mainly Eblaite translations of Sumerian myths. Many of the gods in the pantheon are ones well known for the Levant. Dagon, perhaps chief of the pantheon, Baal, Melech or Molech, Chemosh or Chemosh, and others. During the 20th to 19th centuries BC, Ebla was revitalized and had a rich urban life. It was heavily fortified by tremendous earthen ramparts that surrounded its 150-acre city. The outer wall fortifications included city gates that followed a new design, rectangular with two massive towers, flanking an elongated entryway. On each side of these gates were guard chambers. The gateways were precursors of gate designs used by later Israelites, such as the ones built by Solomon at Megiddo, Gezer, and Hazor. Inside the city of Ebla, temples have been uncovered with a similar design to Canaanite temples of the Middle Bronze Age. As you can see here, we've got some of the ruins that were excavated. And we've got this helpful map up here talking about or showing some of the early diaspora after the Tower of Babel. We've got Elam and Sumer and Akkad and Subartu, and of course Egypt, which will be a major player in a lot of what we read in coming chapters. Right now, though, we're going to pick back up where we left off with Terah's descendants. No, excuse me, we'll get into the city of Ur. Forgive me. The ancient city of Ur lives 186 miles southeast of modern Baghdad, on a bend in the original course of the Euphrates River. Major excavations took place at the site in 1922 to 1934 under the direction of Sir Leonard Woolley. Ur became an important city in Mesopotamia near the end of the 3rd millennium BC. The governor of Ur, a man named Ur-Nammu, brought the city to great prominence. He took the titles of the king of Ur, king of Sumer, and Akkad. Thus was founded the 3rd dynasty of Ur. This period was one of the great peace and prosperity, the high point of the city's existence. This diagram of the city represents the 3rd dynasty of Ur, and it includes a central palace and a temple complex. The latter has a center, at its center the ziggurat of Ur-Nammu, and is dedicated to the moon god Nana. Ur was the birthplace of the Hebrew patriarch Abraham, and the plan to the right represents the city that he would have been familiar with. So here's the Euphrates River, here and here, so it's built right along its bank. And then there are the gates that were referred to in the archaeological excavation over here, with the wall around it. Some of the early defense measures that would have existed for early humanity. And now, continuing on, for real this time, with Terah's descendants. says, Abram was born in Ur, a powerful city in southern Babylonia. Abram's father Terah eventually led the family toward the land of Canaan, but decided to settle in Haran. After Terah's death, the Lord called Abram to go, quote, to the land that I will show you, end quote, which ended up being Canaan, which he promised to give to Abram's descendants. Take a look here real quick. We'll finish our reading here of chapter 12, and we'll see this map here of ancient Palestine. Now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who curse you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in all the families of the earth shall be blessed, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram went, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. I don't think we could do that today. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions they had gathered, and the people that they had acquired in Haran, and they set out to go to the land of Canaan. When they first came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem and to the oak of Moreh. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give this land. So he built there an altar to the Lord, who had appeared to him. From there he moved to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and he called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on, still going toward the Negeb. Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. When he was about to go into Egypt, he said to Sarai his wife, I know that you are a woman beautiful in appearance, and when the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say that you are my sister, that it may go well with you, because of you, and that my life may be spared for your sake. When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful, and when the princes of Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house, and for her sake he dealt well with Abram. And he had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, female servants, female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh called to Abram and said, what is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now then, here's your wife, take her and go. And Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. So going back over to this map here, we see some of the early groupings of people. And obviously Egypt is kind of the star of the show right now, and will be for many chapters to come. But we have the Hittites up here in modern Turkey, the Assyrian peoples, with the Tigris River right here, which is pretty famous that we've already talked about before. The Elam or the Elamites, Babylonians, Syria, down from Megiddo, down through modern-day Israel, going to Egypt. Philistia would be where the Philistines lived at that point in time. And of course, Israel, Judah, and Ammon. Two principal international highways passed through ancient Palestine. The Great Trunk Road was an important thoroughfare for commerce between Egypt and Mesopotamia and a main artery for military movements. This road ran from Memphis, Egypt, up through the Delta region and along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea until it reached the Arana Pass and turned into the northeast to Megiddo. From there, it divided into three branches, reaching Bethshan, Akko, and Damascus. Damascus is modern-day Syria, up here. The second principal route was the King's Highway. Although not as important as the Great Trunk Road for travel between Egypt and Syria, it was a vital link to Arabia. Its southern extension began at the northern tip at the Gulf of Aqaba, or Elath, and ran northward along the hill country of Transjordan, eventually reaching Damascus. Part of this road was used by the Israelites in their exodus from Egypt. A primary local road in Palestine was the Central Ridge Route, or Spine, that went from Shechem in the north to Hebron in the south. When Abram first entered the land of Canaan, he settled for a short time at Shechem. He soon moved to Hebron and points south, probably along this spine. It appears to have been a route commonly used by the patriarchs. Thank you all for joining on this video here. This map ultimately is just a zoomed in version of what is shown on this map over here. This map definitely shows more overall regional context, and this map gives you kind of more of the nitty-gritty details as far as the specific cities and the relationships between those cities from each other. Again, thank you all for joining. I hope that this is something that is both informational and brings you peace. I'm looking forward to continuing this video series, but I think I'm going to begin mixing in some other things that interest me as well. More to come on that. If there's something specific that you would like to see, or if you have any commentary or constructive criticism, please feel free to drop in the comments. If you like these videos and you'd like to see more, please give me a subscription. Would love to be able to have all my videos come directly to you. And yeah, it's a nice free feature for you. Have a great rest of your day.